So I shot a video a few years ago, had over 40,000 likes and comments and everything, talking about LegalZoom.com and comparing them to attorneys and going through some features, some things like that. So I'm doing a refresh video to talk to you about whether or not you should use LegalZoom or another template company or use an attorney. And are attorney services better, worse, more expensive? Let's get into it. So I went on to Reddit in order to get other people's ideas on whether or not LegalZoom worked for them, because a lot of the clients I work with obviously did not select LegalZoom. They went with an attorney. And some of the comments were kind of funny. There was an attorney that said that his law firm calls LegalZoom the full employment company for lawyers, because anytime they have clients that come in with LegalZoom documents, they know they're going to get paid more because the documents are so poor. So that kind of gives you an idea of LegalZoom.com's reputation around the law firm community. Oftentimes lawyers, the first question we ask when someone comes in is, where did you get these documents? Who's the attorney on the other side? So that we can kind of vet, the quality or how difficult the dispute's going to be by the talent of the person on the other side. And I think that, when it comes down to the LegalZoom issue, LegalZoom, that's my first point, is not a law firm. So LegalZoom is a company, and it may employ attorneys, and I know that they have a business lawyer plan that you can subscribe monthly for, but there were some instances in that plan that were kind of interesting. They said that for a fixed amount per month, you can get unlimited 30-minute consultations with an attorney. So when I thought about it, I was like, man, that's a pretty good deal. And then I kind of thought back and I said, well, it's with an attorney. That doesn't mean it's with the same attorney. So how would you like every time when you call into a law firm, you have to re-explain who you are, what you're dealing with, the different situations that you have. It must be so exhausting that most of the people that enter into that subscription probably only call 2 or 3 times throughout the course of a year. So if you take and you were to add up all of those monthly fees, let's say it's $80 a month, you're around $900 for a year for what, an hour, 2 hours worth of calls? So it doesn't seem like that price point is something that would be different than if you went into a private attorney and you saw the same attorney, and that attorney can guide you through your business issues, your business problems. You have some continuity from the attorney. And when you're talking to an attorney, you're getting legal advice from that attorney. I couldn't really imagine a situation where you've spoken to 22 different lawyers about advice on your company. And if that advice ends up being wrong, like, who are you suing? Do you go back to LegalZoom and you go, hey, I want my subscription back? Which I've seen people on Reddit talk about, and no, they do not credit you a couple months of the subscription in different instances. And I highly doubt that they have attorneys that love working at LegalZoom so much that they've been there for 10 years. I would imagine the turnaround's pretty high. I also represent people in the state of Idaho. So you have to imagine, why would an attorney that could get paid in Idaho $400 an hour to be in private practice want to work for an online company and get paid, I don't know, maybe $30 an hour in order to handle these calls? Because obviously there has to be some price points in there. But in Idaho, there are very few good, competent attorneys that handle certain areas of the law, and they will never be on LegalZoom. And there's some prohibitions about giving legal advice to people that you're not in the same state of. So this may work in some scenarios in states like California, where there's a lot of attorneys, New York, where there's a lot of attorneys, Florida, but in states like Idaho, Montana, Utah, probably your Midwest, some of the other smaller states, I don't really see where an attorney would want to jump ship from private practice and then go work for LegalZoom, let alone stay there for a long time so that you can have a relationship with an attorney. Because if your business does well, right, you want to work with the same people for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And that's what's really been the benefit of our firm, is a lot of older attorneys are retiring. Business owners want the same attorney for a long extended period of time. And so they're coming over to our law firm because they know we'll be around for a long time. When it comes down to the transactional nature of LegalZoom, when you go into their portals, they give you a lot of options. You select on your own. So if you're going to form a company, is it going to be an LLC? Is it going to be a partnership? Is it going to be a corporation? Let me share a 100% true, authentic, I am not lying to you. This has absolutely happened to me. It was earlier in my career, and I had a client that came in with a family member and they wanted to create a business together. And they said, look, we went on to LegalZoom. We took and filled everything out ourselves. We just want that belt and suspenders approach. So we would like an attorney just to spend half an hour, review these documents. If there are any markups, let's get them done and get us out the door. But we are just on a shoestring budget, and we would just really appreciate it if you could make that accommodation. I was early in my career and I said, absolutely. I mean, half an hour at that time was better than no hours at all. And so they handed it to me and I said, well, what's this for? And they gave me the name of their business, LLC. And they handed me over the papers. I took a look at the very first part of it and I threw it in the trash can. And I go, there. That was my review. So what the heck happened? I go, yeah, you selected a partnership agreement for an LLC. That's not the right document. You need an operating agreement. And so they had paid, and at that time, and I don't know, I may have told the same story in my prior video, but at that time it was like a $500 flat fee, plus they wanted expedited, so that was like another $150 so that they could get it in 2 weeks. Plus they bought a bunch of stamps and stickers and things like that to make their partnership or their LLC, look more formal. They had certificates. They bought all the little bundles and everything that you can get on LegalZoom, but unfortunately they selected the wrong documents and so they were worthless. And I think that probably happens to a lot more people, but they don't know that they selected it until there is a problem. That's my point number 3 here, which is LegalZoom and those other forms, they might be cheap now, but they can be very expensive down the road. So if you're just doing the basic, fill out the form, fill out the blanks, do this haphazard, maybe you call in, you get their attorney advice, and within half an hour, right, they're able to do a moderately good job in framing it. That is still not going to be as good as somebody that will substantively sit down, spend good time in order to get it done and customized, because that brings me to my 4th point. Fill in the blank model with templates, and companies like that I think are relatively obsolete now due to AI and the legal services world building out AI specifically for lawyers. So you as a consumer cannot buy the software. You guys cannot lease the software that we have access to. So there's Clio that's rolled out their own AI. There's ChatGPT that you can take and change and update settings to make it where it's operating more as a lawyer, that you probably wouldn't know how to ask specific questions in order to incorporate data into existing templates that lawyers may have. There's also LexisNexis and Westlaw that you cannot take and buy and purchase or have a license in order to operate. You just don't have access to the level of AI built specifically for attorneys. When AI was coming out in ChatGPT, that's why you can't rely on ChatGPT when it comes to cases, period, because it would hallucinate cases. So it would create cases, support the hypothesis that was put into the system. For instance, you were asking questions about dog bite cases in Idaho, and there weren't any that talked about what happens in a nuisance trespass scenario and a dog bite, and that case has never been heard in Idaho. It would make one up and use case law from other states, but give it a name from Idaho. And you can read, you can Google, you can look on Reddit, several instances of lawyers using ChatGPT wrongly, get those cases cited, the court looks up those cases, realize it doesn't exist, and then they'll go through and they'll sanction the attorney for not actually doing the research. So I think that, you're fill in the blank model where they give you a template and it just says company name, company signature, company, what does the company do? And you just just fill those out randomly and submit them, that's a quality work product, I think that's just BS anymore. You can take in, as a law firm, we have motions that we've done, we have contracts that we've written that are customized and they're fantastic. And we use those as a backbone for future work. So we can bring in the facts that are particular to your situation. We can use our AI with our backbone to incorporate those facts in and create a legal document that offers you true protection now and into the future. And you're covered by our malpractice. So if something does get messed up, you have a clear avenue of relief when it comes to a law firm. And I don't think you have that avenue whatsoever when you go to a LegalZoom. So I think that the legal market and landscape has shifted. I think it's gotten worse for LegalZoom, not better. I think that the template model that they use versus the AI and generative AI and all of these things that are coming to the table for actual practitioners make us much more competitive. So the legal work that we're putting out for an hourly rate compared to even 5 years ago is tremendously better. So we have a better work product and our rates have gone up, but not gone up as far as our quality has gone up. So you're bang for your buck by hiring a law firm that knows how to use AI, knows how to use technology, and leverage that to decrease the amount of time it takes to make the work product and make a better work product. I think people are in a fantastic position to hire real, actual attorneys that are in your corner and will be for years and be there consistently than just going online, looking at LegalZoom or some of those other template options. But that's just my opinion. That way I don't get sued for defamation.